We have been asking the Lord to help us to love him more, particularly as we consider our brother, the Holy One, Noah. And as we finish this week, I'm going to comment on 2 verses in chapter 8 and 1 in 9. At the beginning of chapter 8, we read, "But God remembered Noah." When you read the New Testament, and I've been suggesting that you mine out what Jesus said about Noah, God doesn't forget. God remembers Noah. And he remembers, he's got a very good memory. He knows where you are, and you are not forgotten. He remembers Noah and all that he had been called to. Noah had been called, really, in the eyes of the world, to a thankless task, building a coffin that would never be needed, subject to criticism and ridicule, called presumably all sorts of things, perhaps even doubted at times by his family. And yet Noah knew one thing. He'd heard from God. And the voice of God carried him through years of project to that moment. As the flood subsides, they come out of the ark, and in verse 20, the first thing that Noah does is build an altar and offers sacrifice. Sacrifice is, of course, part of our Christian lifestyle. It's written large, both as the Old Testament is unfolded, but you see it written large in the New too. Jesus, the sacrificial lamb, the sacrificial. Paul, outpoured as a drink offering. We, the Church of Jesus Christ, called to sacrifice. But here it is offered as worship to God. And we're back to the very beginning of why I and you are on earth. We are here for the worship of God and to fully enjoy his presence forever. Please don't settle back for less. And this sacrifice had a smell to it, and God said, I smell that. You know, some sacrifices, when you're burning them, they don't smell very nice to us. Without being ridiculous, burnt meat on a barbecue. But God receives this sacrifice on the altar. And God makes a promise, and you know that promise well. Then in chapter 9, "And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth." You can go on. And in verse 7 it's repeated, "And you be fruitful and multiply, teem on the earth and multiply in it." What's going on here? Business as usual with God. This is how it was set up in the beginning, in 1 and 2. Man had done his damnedest to destroy the intention of God. He still does. It didn't work. And God is saying to Noah, look, in my covenant, in my plan, nothing has changed. I have my blessing for you. It rests into you. And I want you, my people, to flourish. And our flourishing is not so much dependent on circumstances. Noah had a tough life up until this point. This building the ark was hard. But God is blessing him. You, Noah, and your family flourish. And as we look to Saint Noah and we the saints now, God has not changed his mind. The mandate is the same. Let us be blessed and flourish in the hand and voice of our God.